G'day ladies and germs, Conor here from C-Dubs Media, back with another video, and today we're doing my full review of the Oppo Reno8 Pro. So without further ado, hit the like button and the subscribe button, and let's get stuck into the video. Let's go. Now I just got to point out a few things about this device, and then I'm going to go through what Oppo's selling points are. It's a pretty nice looking device, and that's where I'm going to start is with the build and design. This is glass front and back, and it is a unibody. And I've just got to say, like, if you can ignore the fingerprints, just look at this. Whoa! How pretty is that? And it's a unibody, so it's just like a slanted curve there around the camera hump, and it looks pretty amazing. Now, one thing I did notice that I didn't get a case in the box of this one, and I'm not sure if that's because it's a review unit or if that's the way that Oppo is heading, but you still get an 80-watt fast charging unit and also a cable. So you're ahead of the game still compared to some of the other manufacturers. But the build and design, I just love it. Now, you do have your fingerprint scanner at the bottom of the display. It is probably a little bit too far down for my liking, but when you do hit it, it works really fast, a lot like the Face Unlock. And on the right-hand side is the power button, which has this nice little bit of green paint inside it, bit of a two-tone look. I do like that. It's a bit of flavor. And then on the left-hand side, we have the volume up and down, which are tactile and work well. But this display and the back of the device simply look incredible. So we have Gorilla Glass 5 on the front, we have an aluminium frame, and we have glass on the back. And like I said, the way they've machined this glass, it just looks amazing. Then we have the camera hump, and on the back we have two really big lenses, which I think look pretty standard at the moment. It's got that look to it, that big camera hump. Whoa, where are we? There we go. Big camera hump. See, look at that. And that's pretty common in a lot of devices now. I guess you would say it's trendy. All the manufacturers are opting for big glass where the lenses are. So maybe that adds to it, to the value of it. I'm not sure, but it looks pretty good. Okay, then we have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, which is pretty impressive. We also have, and I'm just going to go, it's the MediaTek Dimensity 8100 Max. So that's what's running it. No Snapdragon here, no Exynos. We have no Tensor chip. We have the MediaTek Dimensity 8100. And then in the camera, we have this Mari silicon, which is supposed to give it unreal night performance and really helps to boost the photography and videography in low light. So we're going to do a bit of investigating there. Now, let me just say a bit about the 5,000 milliamp hour battery and the 80 watt Super VOOC charging. So Super VOOC charging is giving us 50% charge in 11 minutes. That is pretty hard to beat. You're not going to get that with Samsung or Apple or Google. Definitely not Google. Like, Google's really bad when it comes to charging and wireless charging and fast charging. So Oppo, they are leading it with this stuff. You just can't get better. And that's why Oppo put a charging brick in the box so you can achieve this. Now, it also says here 5 minutes of charge equals 2 hours of gaming. Now, it also has some safe features in there for fast charging safely, and it is rated to give you 1,600 charges per life cycle. So if you charge it once a day, that's 1,600 days. That's 4 years you're going to get out of this battery before it might need to be replaced. And if you're a super heavy user and you have to charge it twice a day, you're definitely going to get 2 years. Now, for me as a daily user and a heavy user, I'm easily getting through 1 day of battery life with it. The general areas where it seems to drain more battery than usual would be with recording video or doing photography, but that's always the case with any phone. Now, just quickly on the display, it is a 6.7-inch display, AMOLED. It's really enjoyable to watch and to view content on. I never was left doubting or wondering this is not performing the way I wanted it to. Bright sunlight, great. Watching YouTube or Netflix on there, great as well. I have to say, I highly recommend this device for the display. So that's a big plus for the battery life. It's a big plus for the display. Now, if you look around, there's some really good deals on the Oppo Reno8. Like, I've seen one on Harvey Norman where you're getting a free watch and free headphones, and you're also getting a free $150 gift card So make sure you check out the best prices because there's some really good deals going at the moment on this. Now, if you do just want to buy it through Amazon, links down below, much appreciated. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about the video. I'm just going to show you the video now. So we're just going to step outside and you're going to see all the different variations of video recording that we have in this device. Right, this is the Oppo Reno8 Pro video tour. So we currently have front-facing camera, 1080p, no stabilization, no scene detection. Just straight up, just holding it on a little mini tripod, no gimbal, no stabilization. This is what you get. All through these little clips, make sure you leave comments down below on what you think the video looks like. And also the audio. I'll chop and change between Zoom H1N and the Oppo audio. There's a bit of noise around, which is why I'm using this as well. But yeah, this is the first one. 1080p, no stabilization, no scene detection. Okay, so now we're in 1080p, 60 frames per second on the rear facing camera and no stabilization, no scene detection. Let me know what you think. Is it stable enough? I think it probably is, but again, the more stable the better, so you're going to want stabilization turned on, which we're going to check out in a minute. Now, I should point out, whenever you're filming video, the last thing you want to be doing is walking and talking, but I understand it's how some people create, which is why I'm doing these videos. So if you really want to get just the best shot you can, you want to lock it off on a little tripod and record what you're doing that way. But handheld works, especially in 3 seconds. We're going to go to stabilized and you'll really see the difference. Okay, now we're in 1080p, 60 frames per second, stabilized. And yes, it makes a huge difference. I think for phones, gimbals aren't required anymore when you can film 1080p and 60 frames per second with this level of stabilization. Now, if I do have a little stabilizer, then I can go up to 4K 30 and stabilize it. But for the type of content we're creating with our phones, maybe it's not as important. But I think this looks pretty good. Now, I did just notice that you can't have stabilization and scene detection on at the same time. You can only have one or the other. So you have to chop or choose there. But stabilized looks pretty good without scene detection on. I like it. I think it's not bad at all. Again, mid-range devices, it's hard to beat or complain about the quality of the video these days. Okay, Oppo Reno8 Pro, 4K, 30 frames per second, no stabilization, no scene detection. Is it sharp? Is it cinematic? Or is it sharp and digital looking? If it's a phone, which it is, it's probably more leaning towards digital than cinematic, but 4K. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I think this is good enough for home videos, recording and posting instantly to social media, that sort of content. This is more than enough. You know, it's important to recognize what you need and buy accordingly. You don't have to spend $3,000 on the latest phone when you can spend $1,000. 4K, 30 frames. Okay, now we're shooting in dual video mode, or some like to call it director mode, or whatever it is. That's what we're currently shooting in. Bright time of day. It's like midday. It's super sunny, so I'm certainly putting the challenge up against the Oppo Reno8 Pro here. But this is what you get with dual video mode, so you can see what's in front of you and you can record yourself talking as well. I like it. I think it's good for certain situations. Obviously not just now where I'm just talking and there's nothing in front of me. But if there was something interesting in front of me and you want to see me talking at the same time, it's got its point. I like the Oppo Reno8 Pro. I think it's a really good looking device with some pretty impressive specs, some pretty impressive performance, and a very capable camera with some pretty cool video. Let's get back into the rest of the review. Now the cameras, they're talking a lot here about night portraits and night video and ultra night video, and I've got to say that they're pretty impressive specs on the camera. So we do have the Sony IMX766, which is a 50 megapixel sensor, and it is a 4 times dynamic range, compared to previous models. And the front-facing camera is a 32 megapixel front-facing camera that offers autofocusing and really good stabilization as well. So I'm pretty impressed here. Now they're saying that the Mari silicon chip really helps with night video in 4K, giving really nice colors and good details. So let's have a look at this now. Okay, so here we are with the Mari silicon chip working, doing its thing. It's what it's supposed to do, which is shoot in night light with pretty good results. And this is what you're going to get with the Mari silicon chip. This is 4K, 30 frames per second. I think it looks okay. I've got some light on in the house, shining outside, and then the fairy lights here for a bit of bokeh effect, a bit of background effect. Let me know in the comments what you think. I think they look pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the Mari silicon chip and the work that it's doing. It also has 960 frames per second slow motion, so that's good fun to play with. Now I have to say the photography here is pretty good in general conditions. I've been using this just for general portraits of me and my kids, or taking photos while I'm out and about, low light in restaurants, and I'm pretty impressed all around. These are not overly saturated pictures, they are not blown out in the highlights, they're not too dark in the shadows. There's some really good dynamic range here for a small sensor. I'm pretty impressed with it. Now I know some of this is computational photography, where it's processing the image as it's been taken, but that's what people want in their smartphones, and you're definitely getting that here. I think it's really good for close-ups, for indoors, you know, like I said, having dinner with people, or out in the bright sunlight on the beach. I've put it through some paces and I'm really happy with the results. Let me know what you think of these photos down below. I think they're pretty good photos. Now the ultra wide camera is an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, and then you do have the macro lens, which is 2 megapixel. Now you're going to get some good macro out of it, but I do like to use that main sensor for most things photography related. But you've got the option there to go ultra wide or just wide angle, or punch in on the macro. I think is pretty good. What will people use more? Telephoto or macro? I'm not really sure, but here the Oppo Reno8, they've gone with the macro. And then for those selfies, those ever important selfies, 32 megapixels on the front, f2.2, get some really good background blur. Now I guess some other important areas for me is the gaming, really good experience there. I was playing Genshin Impact and Asphalt 9 and I didn't have any problems with the phone in those conditions. Genshin Impact is quite intensive, but the phone handled that nicely. And Asphalt 9 is just a really bright, fast game. There's lots going on and it plays that quite well. Software is Android 12 and ColorOS version 12.1. Probably going to get an update pretty soon to Android 13. And even in saying that, it's not really that important. What's important is security updates, and we are getting them pretty consistently here. So overall, good software, good hardware, good experience. The Reno series has taken another step forwards this year, and although incremental, it's definitely better than the Reno from last year, and definitely better than a lot of other phones for the same price point on the market, especially with some of those discounts. Now these are a step above the A series and a step below the X series, so you do take that into consideration when you're purchasing the Reno series. Which level do you need? Do you need to jump up to the X or down to the A? Or is the Oppo Reno series where it needs to be for you? For me, I would probably be happy around the Reno8 if I was going to have a daily driver on the sweet spot. Mid-range prices, mid-range specs. I think most people are going to be really content with this device once they pull the trigger on it. The Reno8, it's feeling good in the hand. It's not, like with no case on, it feels like a really great size. But geez, it's precious, you know. You really want to have a case on that. Just trying to think if I've covered everything in it. I know I've been a bit topsy-turvy on this review, a bit all over the shop. It is only 7.3 millimeters thick, which is not thick at all. I don't know how they get that battery in there, but they do. There is no headphone jack, which is always disappointing. There should be one in every phone, but there isn't one here. Sometimes you just got to take that on the chin. Now there is 8 gigs, 256 gigs of storage, and 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage. So there's some good capabilities here. The refresh rate is 120 Hertz. Nice. And due to the size, we're coming in at 394 pixels per inch on the display. And remember, the thank you button is down below. If you could, it'd be much appreciated if you donated a couple of bucks to the channel, 2, 10, 20, 50, whatever floats your boat. And if you can't afford it, don't sweat it. Just hit the like button or say thank you in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video. Check ya.